We are live. Cool. So I could say a prayer if you want, and we'll go from
Word.
there. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this day, and we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet here and to learn the things that we need to learn to move forward in our education. And we ask you at this time to help us to be guided and directed as to the things that we should focus on today. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Right.
Amen. Did you like glitch out in that? I was getting a call. I don't know if like
I
you
must
heard
have or
anything.
something. No, I didn't. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, word. Yeah, as far as I don't have a ton in regards to a spiritual thought, except just my dad's a seminary teacher, and he was talking about just recently. I can't remember what talk it was, and but just about how we I don't know, I guess kind of enduring to the end and persevering, and how we are only able to grow through our trials. There's this scripture in Deuteronomy. I think it's it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." And just thinking about that, like, I've had a really crazy week at work and school, and a good friend of mine who's in the hospital with some cancer stuff, and it's just been hard. And remembering that, we're on the path we're on, not because we just kind of got dealt the cards we got dealt, but like that there's a greater plan in who works. And I'm not going to learn what I'm supposed to learn or become who I'm supposed to become if I don't go walk this path, if I give up on this path, if I fold my hand or fold the cards, toss in the chips, like, I'm not going to become the person I'm supposed to be. So
Yeah, for sure. Just keep pressing forward every day. That's it's hard, but that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, this week was a tough one.
Yeah, man.
So pretty close to quitting my job this week, but I think I'll make it. I'll make it one more week, maybe.
Yeah, just keep going, I guess. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. It's just moving forward every day, and it's like my biggest thing was, like, on my mission, I really struggled with. I had like really bad anxiety problems, and I was almost close to just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna say I have anxiety, and that'll be fine, and I'll just go home. And I finally just said, I just have to go forward and go forward with faith. And the moment I started doing that, everything started changing for me, and I was able to move forward. So I've kind of adopted that motto in my life. It's like, things might be hard now, but if I just have the faith to go forward, it all works out.
Yeah. Crazy how that works.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Should we get into the case?
Yeah, let's do it.
This one seemed like kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, there's a lot that I didn't really understand. Not that I didn't understand, but that I couldn't just, like, read right through.
Yeah. This one kind of was not as exciting as the other ones were.
I agree. Well, I guess number 3, it's kind of when the question starts. It says, put yourself in the shoes of Brentwood Associates management. You must decide whether or not you will exit Zoe's Kitchen now, and if so, what the best option. As a group, vote what should Brentwood do with Zoe's Kitchen.
Yeah, this one was tough for me because I feel like there's several options and they all have their different complications. Um, I know that with the IPO, like they could get more out of it with that, and then just to sell to someone, I mean, it's not as long of a process. And then there's the option to wait and grow. I think it's a great option because they feel, from what I was reading, they were being successful over the years. And so if they continue in success, that seems like a good option too. So this one was tough for me to kind of pinpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a couple like compelling points why they should do the IPO now. I mean, one of the other questions is the value, but hey, the valuation of the company being like a 21 multiplier, a multiplier of 21 versus either 8 or 13. And so I think like that could play a big part in it. Also, like with if they bring it to market too soon, that could have like huge impact. If they bring it to market and it's not successful, having any kind of investors in the future, like what it was talking about, would be a lot more difficult, you know?
Yeah.
And then the other options, like the strategic buy or the financial, what do they call it? The financial sponsor. Like they're not getting, they're a little more secure because like basically with how I interpreted the whole IPO thing is if they do not, if their stock falls in that initial period, bank has the hold on the 15% of their shares, and they're gonna do like it sounded like that could really set up the company for like a really big dive. I'm sure that's the case with any company, with where they're at and how new they are. Like it seemed like it carried a lot of risk, and I also am not an investment banker and have like a minimal understanding of this case. That was my interpretation.
No, I think that that makes sense. That's kind of how I understood it too. It's like, and also it's like if they didn't like go for it, I felt like they could miss out on that opportunity in the future. It seemed like to me.
Like if they weren't successful with doing that, then it would be hard for them to be hard for them to be successful in the future.
And like I think that's where for them to make like the most amount of money, that's the opportunity for the most amount of money.
Totally.
So I think I would probably sell now and do the IPO. I think that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, so the reason that I would agree It said like they were going to that one conference, like the IBX conference, where with like the startup companies that they introduced. I don't know if that part, but they were saying like they were off from like 20 different investment banks wanting to invest. And I also think like with how it was describing the climate of things like after the recession, and how the climate right now is like pretty hot, like it could be a good opportunity with
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was seeing too. Is like people are interested, so the interest is out there, and the process might be a little harder, but they're gonna make more money in the end of it, anyways. Like they'll be better off. These other private places, they can't offer as much as you can when you open it up to everyone.
Right, but if they were to like sell instead of doing like an IPO, if they were to sell it to a strategic buyer, financial buyer, and kind of wash their hands of it, and that's like kind of what. And I think it's asking from Brentwood's perspective, what should Brentwood do with Zoe's Kitchen? So I mean, Brentwood's gonna. I mean, they're probably concerned making obviously their money back. And I guess it's important to establish that because they probably have a different criteria of what's important. Like they don't want the kitchen to flop because that's a reflection on them, So obviously, like maybe the money isn't the most important piece to this puzzle. It's how can that enterprise be successful, and I think with the end goal of bringing it to market, but whether that's done now or in the future, I think is what they've got to think about. And I mean, if they were to sell to a strategic buyer, like Brentwood would make all the money, all the capital they invested back, but it's probably not going to look as good on their like resume for like the portfolio companies they've worked with. Like from the sound of it and what I would guess is like they want to see companies that have been taken public.
Yeah, I think, and yeah, that's why I kind of think that's probably their best interest too. Is like it's a resume builder for them too. It's they'll make pretty good money off of it, and then it's something they can put on their resume to say we are able to take this company public.
Yeah. Well, but so one of the options was to sell off a portion of it, sell like a fraction um, to a financial buyer sponsor, and then like a couple years down the road take it public, but like get a little bit, and they'd basically just forego some equity in the company, and then I mean they would have the capital to grow and to expand like they wanted to, might have a little bit more I don't know, stability and like duration, like because right now they're pretty new and they've been successful and they've been growing like consistently, but they're still only like I mean since 07 to 13. So I mean they're not brand new, but they've just recently been like growing like at that rate. So I don't know. I think both of those. Maybe I'm more conservative, but
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I would say either the IPO or the financial buyer with the IPO down the road. Because in Brentwood's case, that's probably. I mean, I don't know that it's in their best interest. As the case was putting it, like they're going to get their money back regardless. Like if Brentwood continues to be successful, and they're probably going to continue to earn. They would earn more the longer they're working with Zoe's Kitchen. I mean, I don't know
yeah,
if they want to be paid back all right then, because then they can find more ways to make money.
yeah, for sure. No, I'm kind of with you on. I'm kind of with you on. I'm like, cause I was torn too. I was like, I don't know which one would be better, but I was kind of torn between the same ones. So I'm like not really sure which one to choose, because I think you could go. I think there's safety. I think they're safe in either of those decisions. Okay.
It says, as a group, allow each individual to his position. If you agree at the outset, take a counter position and explore why you would those other options. Why does
Sorry, I was chasing him around.
Oh, you're good, man.
He's running around like crazy. Why does Brentwood want to exit now? What are some reasons for holding now? What can go right under each scenario? What can go wrong? I think like why he'd want to exit now is, I guess, the company's doing well, and it's kind of that philosophy of strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good reason to exit now, is things look good, people are interested, and we can go from there. Let's just do it, I think that's probably the mindset.
Yeah. What are some reasons for holding now?
For holding out, I think a reason why you hold out is what happens if they. I mean, because the company's moving up. What happens if they keep moving up and they keep doing really well, and they exited too early, and they weren't able to make a deal that would have been better for them in the future? I think that's a huge thing, is like, what happens if things could have been like way better?
Yeah.
You don't want to leave too early.
Or I mean, what if that next year their company grew like 5 times than their normal rate, and that could have put higher valuation on the company and gotten them a lot more money.
Yeah, and it's happened to a lot of great investors and entrepreneurs where they sold their company way too early, and then years down the road they end up being like $100 million company, and you're like, oh crap. I missed out.
You know what Brother Nebuchadnezzar does or did, or
I think he was a consultant, right? I think he went in, and I think that's what he was. I'm not quite sure. Oh. I think he was a business consultant, and he'd like go in and businesses and help them to be successful.
My investments teacher, I just his bio like online says that he missed out. He like waited and missed out on like a deal that would have made him $10 million or something. And just reminded me kind of this. Like, do you go now or do you wait? And then it says what can go right for each scenario and what can go wrong.
I think the right for the IPO was that it was the great timing. They were able to make their money, and things went really well. What can go wrong is it was kind of maybe a little rushed, and they got out of it too soon. For sell to a strategic buyer, I mean, they can make a deal that is good for them, but also there's not as much time with legal fees and other things like that. What can go wrong is the company, if they would have waited, the company could be more successful, and they could have made a lot more money.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm supposed to answer him, I guess. Why does Brentwood want to exit now? I think for the same. I don't know. I mean, if you assume like that they want to exit now because they want to take the company public and to build their resume and to have the opportunity to do that again. I mean, I don't know that they're eager to get out of that investment, but I also don't know that they're looking to spend a bunch of time in it while it matures if they're not going to be making money. And I feel like that gives them a motivation to want to exit now. I think, like it talked about with the climate after the recession, and I think with the investment bankers that were reaching out to him after their conference, like there's a lot of interest showed in that company, and they might be fearful of missing out. I think that's a reason why they would want to go now. And as far as reasons for holding, I think that there's like some fear behind being like a new company. I was talking about like how generally restaurants who get taken public are much bigger and have greater revenue when they're taken public. Like Noodles had almost 3 times or more than 3 times, almost 4 times their annual revenue when they went public. And so do they have like the capacity to generate like, or to like find the interest? Because I think they have the capacity to grow, but if their margins are going to be so small, like it might not make sense for people to want to take an interest in that. What could go right in each scenario? I think like just like we talked about, what could go right with an IPO is that it's successful, that they raise the capital that they need. That, I mean, for Brentwood, that means they raise the capital that they need to be successful, and also they make their money back. They build their resume with having helped take a company public.
if they hold, maybe what can go wrong with them holding is they hold too long and they lose interest, or they don't have the required capital, and they're not able to expand as quickly or as rapidly as they might see fit, and cut some corners, and it causes them to, I don't know, lose that segment. I don't know. I think we kind of talked about them.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry. These two they're usually napping right now, but they won't decide to wake up today. But yeah, no, I agree. There's like, and I guess it's important to look at it from these perspectives, because I guess if you just kind of made the decision without thinking about without thinking about what could go right or what can go wrong, you're just kind of rushing into something. I guess you kind of have to think these things through.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So for number 5, how much is Zoe's worth under each option? Discuss with each other how you got your answer group. Come up with consensus as to what Zoe's is worth.
I think I don't know the exact number, but I know that under IPO they're worth a lot more. They're able to make a lot more, because when you open it up to more people are willing to put more money into it. Where if you just open it up to one group, then it's not worth as much.
Yeah. Well, and the time, the risk associated with taking it public, like there's probably a lot of people that have businesses that could potentially go public, but it said like there's a 10 to 13 million dollar cost associated with that, plus like the 5 to 7% of the fees from the underwriter at the investment bank, and more like residual fees. So it said like there's an average on, and so I took the earnings for interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, and it said in 2013 that was 11 million. And so with a 21 multiplier for the IPO, plus like the expenses that it gave, ended up being like 201,330,000. For the financial sponsor, it was 85 million, and the strategic buyer was 139 million. But I mean, that's kind of BS numbers. I really know where to throw those, and I also think like their projected growth rate like could weigh into that, like how their earnings from, I can't remember what they were in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of skimmed the number part, so I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I think like on the second half of the question, it talks about why would anyone sell to a financial buyer. I think it's a lot easier. I think you jump through like a ton less hoops to sell to just like a buyer. I think that's why I would do it.
For sure. I don't know. This is, yeah, they went from 5 million to 9 million to just under 11 million. So, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, they're definitely growing consistently.
One second. So it looks like they're growing on an average of 20, just based on those numbers, like 24%. If I were going to run those numbers again, I would probably like factor that in.
So yeah, that was 20. They're 24% growth.
24. Well, average. So from 2011 to 2012, 40, almost 41%, and 2012
Oh, nice.
13, it's like 16%. And so if you average those, it's like 24.5%.
Nice.
So I don't know if it's really appropriate to like factor that in all the way, or how to factor that in all the way, but
Yeah, like how do you take that and choose between the different options, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how you do that either.
Yeah. So that's at least the numbers that I came up with. It says, what differences did you observe in valuations on who buys the company? Does this make sense? Discuss as a group. We kind of did why it makes sense with, like,
Both ways, yeah.
with the IPO being able to generate a lot more capital or a lot higher valuation. I think with the strategic buyer, the financial sponsor, I don't know. The only thing with the IPO is like that's not all your money. With the financial sponsor, you would, from my understanding, you'd forego some of that equity to the sponsor, and then they would like take it public, or you just sell out of it entirely. And if you think about it, if you sold out of it entirely for 80 or 100 million, like that's not a bad route to go.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that for them at this point, it's almost a win-win. I mean, if they can get deals done, the one thing I like about selling directly to somebody is they said it took 3 to 6 months to do that, while trying to do the IPO route took like 9 or 10. So it took a fraction of the time and then a fraction of the legal expenses that it would have to do an IPO, which is pretty nice. I mean, you don't have to jump through a million hoops as well. You probably have to jump through some hoops, but not as much, I guess.
Yeah.
Not as many.
For sure. For sure. Why would anyone sell to a financial buyer instead of an IPO? And we kind of just answered that. Less hoops, less time, less risk, also less money.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's assuming that you want to continue to run the company as well.
Yeah, if you're looking for a way out, I mean, it's almost like, why not?
Yeah, it was interesting how it said, like, or asked that question, like if the management team is down to be running a public company or not.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. I think that's about.
Yeah, I think that's this one was a lot harder for me to like get into, but I mean, it's interesting.
It's interesting, but it's also like not as interesting. I mean, it's interesting, but like it's a little.
It was like harder for me to sink my teeth into this one.
Yeah, I feel
for
you.
Sure, man.
Well, cool, dude. Enjoy the rest of your. Enjoy the rest